We're going to raise the floor, aren't we?
These are minimum wage workers battling the oppressive heat of a New York City summer to raise awareness of what they call wage theft.
Whether it's an employer refusing to pay overtime for hours that a worker may have worked overtime, whether it's an employer having people work off the clock, whether it's employees who have to pay for their own uniforms or other things that they need that are essential for their job, that they have to come out of their own pocket to pay for. And in a lot of cases too, it's just paying people below the minimum wage.
Wage theft isn't only a New York problem. It's an epidemic across the country, despite regulations set by the Fair Labor Standards Act, which mandates the minimum wage, child labor laws, and who is eligible for overtime. In a survey of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago minimum wage employees, the National Employment Law Project says that their survey found that 76% of workers reported that they hadn't been paid overtime when it was due to them.
As a shift supervisor, I was working about 45 hours at 2 different locations by the same owner, and I wasn't getting paid overtime.
On the day of the rally, Joseph Barrera, who works at 2 KFCs in Brooklyn, testified at a New York City Council committee hearing.
My boss actually had, the nerve to tell me that the reason why he wasn't paying me overtime was because the second location that I was working at belonged to his brother, and that there was different payroll.
The workers who were victimized often work for the largest fast food chains, and they are often afraid to confront their managers because they fear losing their jobs.
Between the fear of retaliation, the widespread violations, lack of enforcement on the state and federal level, it's a problem that really has gone unchecked.
Because the dollar amounts at stake are relatively small, it can be difficult for victims of wage theft to find a private attorney to handle their cases. Other options are local legal services organizations or the state or federal departments of labor. And in a sign that the awareness campaign is working, the New York State Attorney General has announced that his office has made wage theft a priority for strategic enforcement.
What we see is that when folks are given the information, given the facts on what's happening within their jobs, and given the ability to push back against it, that they will organize and they will come out and speak.
The tragedy of wage theft is that it comes at the expense of those who can least afford it and are the most vulnerable. And that's why people are starting to speak up and listen. In New York City, this is Ed Alpern for the Lawyers.com channel.